the series of videos I'm doing. I'm new to this. I'm not new to cooking, but I am new to making videos. And I'm making a lot of mistakes on this. But anyway, let me say that first, this machine is called a buffalo chopper. And it replaces a crew of sous chefs. It's just an amazing machine. And I'm very happy that I got one. You're going to see it in action in a few minutes. It just does chopping projects in seconds that would take hours chopping it with a knife and a cutting board. You can see I'm tightening the lid down here, and then I'm going to get some onions. And it's a machine I was always curious about. And when I got one, I just realized how valuable they were in a kitchen. It just saves hours and hours and hours of work and does a better job than you can do with a knife. You can get an extremely fine mince in seconds. The bowl's turning now, and there I go. I'm going to dump these onions that I peeled and cut into quarters. And there it goes into the bowl. It's chopping them up. And you can see how quickly it's done. That's an entire bag of onions, which is the way you purchase the onions at the grocery store. So there's no point in doing one onion and then just sticking the other ones on a shelf somewhere. You might as well process all of them at once, because you always end up throwing food away. And doing it this way, you can process it. At the end of the video, I'll go ahead and saute these in a large cast iron pan. And once they're cooked, they keep, but you can see it's a big pile of onions right now. But after they're sauteed, of course, it evaporates the water out of the onion. And it reduces down to just, maybe a few spoonfuls of brown onions. We're about to put in the next vegetables. And these are carrots. I peeled them and cut them into about 2-inch sections. And carrots are just awful to mince. So normally people drop them in a broth. If they're making a broth, they'll stick in the large pieces, and then after the broth is cooked for a while, they'll pull all this stuff out and throw it away. And why throw it away when you can mince it? You can finally mince it, and it just blends right into the broth. And the flavor is so much better. It just, why throw this away? It's all good stuff. You can see how quickly this chops. And here go the peppers. This is a combination of bell peppers and jalapenos, habaneros, poblanos, and serrano peppers. And when you're chopping that stuff, it's almost like getting hit with pepper spray. So it's nice having the machine to do this for you, because you don't end up coughing from the pepper spray and you have tears running down your eyes from the onions. It's let the machine, no pun intended, let the machine take the heat. And look how quickly it minced that up. And a few spoonfuls of that into your broth is all you need. The rest I'll be using to make some salsa or some sort of sofrito. So none of it goes to waste. Anything really left over, if you're making an immediate project with this, all you have to do is take whatever's left and make a vegetable broth. It's like the ultimate vegetable broth you can make. These machines aren't cheap, but I can say it was a lot cheaper than hiring a crew of sous chefs to come in and do this work for me, and it's a lot faster. You saw it just took, 10, 15 seconds to do that. This is the celery again. Mincing celery into super fine sizes is just very, very, very time consuming. And you can see this thing just knocks it right out. There it is. I mean, it's done now. It just needs to be spooned out. And here we go. That's minced celery. Look at it. Just tons of it. And you buy these vegetables in grocery store quantities. Like, you don't buy a rib of celery, you buy a stalk of celery. When you buy carrots, you buy a bag of carrots, and so on. So it makes more sense to process it in the grocery store quantities. It ends up with a lot less food waste, and it's so good. You end up doing more cooking this way instead of just every once in a while cooking. This is cilantro, by the way, and that would take God knows how long to mince with a knife and a cutting board, but look at it. It just knocks it right out. There you go. And of course it'll handle parsley, any kind of leafy stuff, mustard greens, turnip greens, collard greens. It just chops that stuff right up. And you can adjust the size of the chop. It has knife blades inside the machine, and you can set the depth of the cutting blades to regulate the amount of chop, and also you can sort of estimate it by allowing the bowl to spin around a little less. So you have two controls you can use. You can always buy a spare set of blades for the machine, so you don't have to readjust the blades. You can have one set for a rough chop and one set for a finer chop, like this is. Or it's probably even a medium chop, but it's right now this is exactly the chop I'm looking for. And in a minute, you're going to see what happened. I put the onions in a cast iron skillet. It's a 17-inch pan. The burner's a 13,500 BTU burner turned on full blast. And you see it didn't burn anything. It's a big cast iron pan. Because of the size of the pan and sitting there and stirring it, they came out to a nice golden brown color, and look how much they reduced. That is what's left from an entire bag of onions, and it is so good. It's just caramelized and nice, and it'll add a wonderful flavor to a broth. And here we go. Here are the peppers. I'm cooking those down. Peppers do not keep well when they're raw, so when I purchase peppers, bell peppers, jalapeno peppers, any kind of peppers, I try to process them almost immediately. And then when you cook them, they'll keep for a longer time. But it's not good to let them sit around raw. They will turn bad, and it's not pleasant when those things turn bad. Peppers and potatoes are particularly not good to let sit too long on a shelf. So that's how I make a Mirepoix, and it's done in slightly larger quantities than you see in cooking videos, where they take 1 clove of garlic and 1 rib of celery and 3/4 of an onion, and I always wonder, what do they do with the rest of the stuff? If you're doing that at home, it probably gets thrown away. And here's the end result. I store it in these small hotel pans, and you can see it, everything reduced down nicely. You see the onions, the cilantro, the peppers, the celery, and the carrots, and it's all there. And they're stainless steel. You put stainless steel lids on them. Put them in the refrigerator, and then start making world-class meals with this stuff. That's what adds the difference between a home-cooked meal and a meal cooked in a fine restaurant. This is the secret right here.